Basket Liturgy, a quiet corner for the Jesus-loving mother, seeking to embody shalom in the midst of her real, ordinary, beautiful calling. I'm Rachel Alaya, your host and the founder of The Kingdom Mother. Today's episode is part of our second season, The Quotidian Mysteries, a season that explores the sacred mystery hidden within ordinary life. And today we're talking about the cult of busyness and the deeper story that many of us carry beneath our busyness. The story that whispers, if I do enough, if I help enough, if I achieve enough, if I keep going, then perhaps I will finally be enough. So wherever you are right now, folding laundry, driving children, cleaning up another mess, or moving quickly from one responsibility to the next, pause with me. Take a slow breath in. And a longer breath out. Allow yourself to arrive here. A prayer to open. Lord, you know the weight I carry. You know the striving to earn that lives beneath my busyness. Teach me how to rest in your love rather than in my performance. Help me to remember that I am your beloved before I accomplish a single thing. Amen. Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. It is in vain that you rise up early and go late to rest, eating the bread of anxious toil, for he gives to his beloved sleep. Psalm 127, verses 1 and 2. The bread of anxious toil. What a striking image. Bread is something many of us consume every day. It's a staple. It's something that sustains us, something that becomes a part of us even. And something we also talked about back in episode 14 on mana spirituality and living by God's provision of our daily bread. And yet here, the psalmist suggests that many people are living on another kind of bread. The bread of anxious toil. The fare of fear-fed striving, the ration of restless productivity, the exhausting belief that everything depends on us. Busyness is often praised in our culture. We admire productivity, efficiency, achievement. We celebrate overflowing calendars and endless activity. But busyness can become more than behavior. It can become an idol. It can become identity, a way of proving our worth, a way of reassuring ourselves that we matter, a way of avoiding the deeper fears beneath the surface. For many mothers, busyness isn't simply about having a lot to do. It becomes a way of answering the question, am I enough? If I keep producing, perhaps I am enough. If everyone needs me, perhaps I am enough. If I can hold everything together, perhaps I am enough. I had a moment recently, and I talked about this in an article on my Substack, where I left my house for a few hours to catch up with a friend. And when I came back, we'll just say that the house was a bit chaotic. And I thought to myself, what would they do without me here in this house? That kind of energy carries a little bit of this message, right? That we are needed, that we belong because we fulfill this need of, busily taking care of others. And that's not to say that taking care of others is wrong by any means. But what's the energy? What's the attitude beneath the assumption that everyone just needs me? And so we hurry, we overfunction, we carry what really was never ours to carry, and we become exhausted. Yet we keep moving, we keep doing it because stopping can feel frightening. It can feel impossible. Stopping forces us to face the possibility that our worth was never rooted in our usefulness. And over time, busyness can often become our embodied habitual orientation. The nervous system adapts to urgency, and the body becomes accustomed to rushing, to anticipating, to solving, to carrying. Even when there's no immediate emergency, the body remains braced and hypervigilant, always preparing, always scanning, always moving towards the next thing. And eventually, urgency is the baseline. It is what is normal. And stillness thus feels uncomfortable. Rest feels even irresponsible. And doing nothing can feel unsafe. Not because we, consciously believe these things necessarily, but because our bodies have learned them as habit, as a way to resource our sense of being safe and secure. And this is why slowing down can feel surprisingly difficult, because busyness often becomes a coping strategy, a way of regulating anxiety, a way of avoiding vulnerability, a way of temporarily soothing the fear that we are not enough. And Psalm 127 offers us a radically different vision. He gives to his beloved sleep. The Hebrew word here for sleep is shena. Sleep, slumber, rest. Not merely the absence of work, but the surrender of work. Every single night, God invites human beings into an act of profound trust. We cease activity. We stop producing. We stop solving problems. We stop controlling outcomes. And we become vulnerable. we relinquish control. And for several hours, we entrust ourselves entirely to God. Maybe you've never considered that sleep is profoundly theological. Every night we practice creatureliness. Every night we acknowledge I am not God. The world continues without me. The people I love are sustained by someone greater than me. The kingdom does not depend on my productivity. And by God's design, this surrender is not punishment. It is a gift. As Tish Harrison Warren writes in one of my favorites, The Liturgy of the Ordinary, as believers, we can relish sleep as not only necessary, but as an embodied response to the truth of Scripture. We are finite, weak creatures who are abundantly cared for by our strong and loving Creator. What a beautiful description. Sleep reminds us that belovedness is not earned. It is received. And Psalm 127 does not say he gives to the productive, he gives to the efficient, he gives to the indispensable, as much as I'd like to personally believe that sometimes. No, it says he gives to his beloved. Beloved first, work second. Identity before productivity or ministry. Love before labor. And perhaps this is the invitation hidden inside Psalm 127, to stop living on the bread of anxious toil and begin living from the assurance that we are already seen, safe, secure in the hands of the Lord. Again, I'm going to bring this contrast back into view because the psalmist here does contrast these two kinds of sustenance, one being the bread of anxious toil, and the other being the gift that is given to the beloved. One is earned, while the other is received. One is often rooted in scarcity and fear, while the other in grace and trust. And every mother, every day, including myself, including you, is invited to choose which bread she will live on. Now, let me be clear. This doesn't mean that we stop working, right? Psalm 127 is not condemning labor. After all, God gave Adam and Eve meaningful work to do. Children still need to eat. Goodness, we know that. Laundry still piles up and needs to be clean and folded and put away. Bills still need to be paid, right? Homes still need tending. The question is not whether we work. The question is, what story are we carrying while we work? Are we working from belovedness or for belovedness? Are we serving because we are secure or striving because we feel insecure? This distinction matters because while one posture leads to resting in his peace, the other eventually leads to exhaustion. One of the I think, great temptations of modern life is believing that productivity can give us what only God can provide. We hope accomplishment will give us security, identity, significance, rest, enoughness. But productivity was never designed to carry that weight. No completed to-do list has ever permanently silenced the fear of not being enough. No achievement has ever permanently secured our worth, and there are countless stories of people who have finally achieved their goals or their dreams and suddenly realized that. No amount of busyness can answer the deepest questions of the human heart. Only love can do that. Only God can do that. And this is why the gospel is such good news for weary mothers. Because the gospel begins with belovedness. Before you achieve, before you perform, before you prove yourself, you are loved. You are seen. You are wanted. You belong to Christ. So the deepest truth about you is not what you accomplish. It is whose you are. Kathleen Norris writes in The Quotidian Mysteries, "Life is what happens to you when you are busy doing something else." Goodness, what a sobering thought that is. Because busyness can keep us from inhabiting our own lives. We rush through mornings. We hurry through meals. We move from one task to task, always anticipating and arriving at the next thing, like always waiting for this season to end. And in the process, we miss the gift of the present moment. The child who is telling us a story, the sunlight breaking through the kitchen window, the conversation at dinner, the prayer whispered while washing dishes, the quiet evidence of God's presence hidden in ordinary life. The Quotidian Mysteries remind us again and again, God is not waiting for us somewhere beyond our responsibilities. He is here in the middle of them. And busyness often blinds us to his nearness. Norris also writes, "It is as if I have taken the world's weight on my shoulders and am too greedy and too foolish to surrender it to God." Perhaps that is the deepest invitation of Psalm 127, to lay down what was never ours to carry, to acknowledge that we are creatures, not saviors, not messiahs, not the sustaining force of the universe, just beloved daughters, faithful mothers, ordinary people living under the care of an extraordinary God. And goodness, there is tremendous freedom in this, because when everything depends upon us, we must remain constantly vigilant. But when God gets to be God, we can finally rest. Not because everything is finished, but because He is faithful. So let's practice that right now. Before your next task today, I'll invite you to pause. Not after everything is done, but before. Sit still for 30 seconds noticing your breathing, noticing your body, noticing any urge to rush ahead, any pressure to be productive, any anxiety about what remains unfinished. You do not need to argue with those feelings. Just simply notice them and quietly whisper, I am already loved. Again, I am already loved. Let your body experience a moment of being rather than doing. A moment of receiving rather than producing. A moment of belovedness before accomplishment. Stay here for a few breaths and then continue your day. Not to earn love, but from love. And here is the domestic liturgy that I give you this week. When you find yourself hurrying, when urgency rises, when your worth begins to feel tied to your productivity, pause and whisper, I do not need to earn my belovedness. Again, I do not need to earn my belovedness. And allow this to become your prayer, a small act of resistance against the bread of anxious toil, a return to the truth of who you are. And now, beloved Mother, may you be freed from the burden of proving your worth. May you lay down the bread of anxious toil. May you remember that your value does not rise and fall with your productivity. May your body learn the safety of rest. May your soul learn the freedom of surrender. May sleep become a nightly reminder that God remains faithful while you cease striving. And may you live not for belovedness, but from it. Because you are already loved, already seen, already held, already His. Go in peace. This has been the Laundry Basket Liturgy. If this episode blessed you, would you consider sharing it with another mama? You can also support this podcast by subscribing or leaving a review on your preferred podcast streaming platform. To explore all current offerings and available discipleship opportunities, soul-tending resources, and gospel-shaped nervous system support, head on over to the Kingdom Mother Substack. Over there, you can also subscribe to receive future episodes and written devotionals straight to your inbox, and you'll receive some free gifts when you do. I've also just launched the Kingdom Mother Substack community for paid subscribers. If you choose to become a monthly donor, you'll receive a private monthly podcast, a continuing education book club, and an additional many practical resources on themes like rest, embodied awareness, renewing the mind, community, beauty, truth, and goodness. So if you love this podcast, if you enjoy listening to it, I'm sure you'll value being a part of the community there. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being faithful. And thank you for making space for the sacred in the middle of the ordinary. God bless and have a beautiful week.